Hello there, it's me, Sari here again, and today I'm here to talk to you about big shot machines and the accessories that go with it. But first I thought I'd just show you how much fun you can have with different kinds of die cuts or dies and papers and different materials and everything. And I'll just be browsing through these quickly just so you get an idea of what I'm aiming at here. In this case I have die cut a beautiful frame. I believe it's from Memory Box. And I've also die cut some shrink plastic, and that is a die from Spellbinders that I have used, and it does work with shrink plastic, and it's a nice idea, a nice thing to know actually. And here is something that I have done both some dry embossing with and die cutting out of funky foam or some kind of foam. Let's see, I'm not sure, a funky foam could be one, foam I could go for actually. And there's a city skyline in black and white details and everything. So the dry embossing and die cutting is really nice. And in this case I've actually used a 300-gram watercoloring paper, and I've used a Big's edge die there. And it's so much fun to die cut things out of funky foam, I think, especially when it comes to words and everything. And here I have used some glittery funky foam. And some dies may be so intricate that you have to work the die really well in your machine, back and front and even from sideways and everything. And this was one of those dies that I have really had to work. But the end result is rather fantastic, I think. Here I've also used some shrink plastic to do that stamping there, and as a beautiful feather there as well. And let's see, you could also go for some layering technique with your different kinds of die cuts. Here is also something from Spellbinders, it's a star, and here is something I believe could be from Cheery Lynn, and here's also the word sweet there, die cut out of a funky foam piece. Here is something else with some steampunky touch to it. It's a big clock pocket watch there from Tim Holtz. There's some honeycomb net, and there's some cogwheels, and all of these things really make my day. And this is one of the dies that I absolutely love, and I was so happy to get it while it was still on the market. It's a small easel die from Tim Holtz and Sussex. You might be able to get it, but I'm not sure your favorite store might have it in stock. You just have to ask for it. Here is something else that I have used. There's that house from Tim Holtz, there's a tree, and there's also some kind of a fence thing going on there. So you can have lots of fun with these dies, I must say. And then coming back again to dies that may be on the intricate side. The feathers could be a bit tricky sometimes. Even this beautiful sort of golden, it's a die from Spellbinders. It does both die cut and make a beautiful imprint there, a debossed or embossed effect. And oh, I just forgot about it. Just look at that beautiful circle there with a stitched edge. I love those dies. Just can't help myself. I go a while when I see them. And this is also fun. You can actually just buy a set of dies that go with a sort of a house theme, and these go with a Halloween theme or perhaps winter theme, and these come from Memory Box. And this is something that I made in my early days, and just having the card in sort of similar colors and just having something there. It's an inverted scallop die I have used here from Spellbinders to make that sort of edge there. And it sort of pops it really nicely, but it's still kept together nicely and neatly there. And here is something that I could actually point out as well. Here are some stamps that I have used, and with matching dies from Tim Holtz and Sussex. So that could be fun to use as well. And this is a gift bag that I've just decorated the front of. And I'm just keeping this for future reference because I sort of like the way that I made this, and you know, it's nice to have a remembrance of things. But let's get back to business. As you can see, I've got two different machines here. One is the sort of smaller size, is the regular big shot that I have had lots of years, and I love this machine, I really do. I like it because it's easy to take with you to craft events and everything. And well, but I do believe that this one is getting a little bit worn and torn, so I have to start using my Big Shot Plus machine now instead. And there is another even bigger Big Shot machine that is called Pro, and that one takes 12 by 12 inch dies, and you can imagine the size of those dies. So this one has got a 6-inch wide opening here. This one I believe could be 8.5 inches perhaps, and sort of A4 sized, even though the plates are a little bit bigger. And as I told you, the big Pro is for 12 and 12 by 12 by, my goodness, 12 times 12 inches. And there is also an electronic or electric Big Shot machine that you don't have to crank the handle. If you have poor hand wrists or anything, you can actually go for that machine, I suppose. I, on the other hand, like the possibility of actually going back and forth without waiting for the whole process to go through and then just put it in again. And in comparison with these two, I mean, they say when it comes to warping the cutting pads, this sort of the Plus machine is better equipped to not warp your cutting plates or pads too much, so they will end up looking like bananas or something. So that is an improvement they have made. But I must say that fiddling with these big plates that they actually come with and just getting it to go through the machine, that is giving me a hard time, and I'm sort of sure it's giving me some grey hairs as well, and I don't like that. And so I don't really know what the problem is. It could be that the it's really thick, and you really need to get it in place, and I actually have to use my chest here to get it going. So that is something that I'm really not that fond of. So that's why I tend to go for my smaller plates in my bigger machine, just to have the advantage of actually, I'm going to show you, have the advantage of actually just putting the regular sandwich from the old machine. I could put it in this way, but I could also just turn it around, which is good when you have these really intricate and difficult plates. You know, I can't actually use the old plate. I have to correct myself. I can't use that because I have been using this. It's a magnetic plate which the thin dies actually stick to, like this. So it's a really good, useful tool to use if you are going to use it in here this way, because sometimes the dies are so intricate that you actually have to go through both that way and that way, even though you have a brand new machine. So that is something that you have to bear in mind. But let's get back to basics. I'm skipping things, I think. First off, when you get this regular Big Shot machine, you will get a sort of a sandwich, a base plate or a multi-purpose platform it's called, which has got some tabs, and the tabs are supposedly sitting to the left here on hinges, and you're just supposedly to do this when you are adding on dies or materials that are thicker than the thin dies. And it has got really good descriptions here on what to do and how to do this. So if you're going to place the platform first, and then the cutting pad, then the die with the back down, then the paper, and another cutting pad, and you're just going to do your die cutting or rolling through the machine like that. If you are going to add on, let's say, a thicker die, sort of a half thick die. It could be something from Sizzix, it could be something from Cuttlebug. Let's see if I've got something here. Well, I can't really find it now, can I? But, you know, it's these sort of half thick dies. Then you have to peel away or just lift this one off. And then you are free to do your embossing. Yes, you could also do some embossing, I must tell you. So the embossing and the half thick dies, they're equally thick, so you can actually use the same tab there. And if you are going to do something even more textured or something, then you can peel away both of those. But sometimes the dies are so thick that you can't even use those, because the die itself, it's called a Biggs die, it's as thick as the base platform and everything. So then you're just going to skip them, and you're just going to go for your cutting pads. And as for cutting pads, they come in different sizes. Here are, I think they are 13 inches long and 6 inches wide. You can have the regular ones, and nowadays they actually come with sort of a, well, the edges are sort of, I'm not sure what it's called in English actually, but it's easier to roll it through your machine. They also come in 3 different colors. I've only got the 1 color here, and that could be a good thing if you're having lots of things on your craft table and you're just going to find your cutting pads. I mean, even though it's nice to have them see-through, but it's sort of difficult to find them on your craft table as you go along. There are also small cutting pads, which I tend to use when I'm using my small Bigs dies, and I'm just going to roll it through a machine like that. And if you have sort of strip dies, let's see, they could be from Zizix, and then they are called Zizlets. This thickness of a die, it's called a Zizlets die. And then I'm just going to replace the basic platform or base, and I'm going to go with the sandwich looking like this. So I'm basically using my base form, cutting pad, the die and the material, and then the cutting pad. And I'm keeping all of these things together, holding my hand as I go along, just rolling it through the machine, so it doesn't end up in a different place. And let's see if I'm going to do something else here. Well, I did mention the magnetic platform, and I love this one. It's a bit pricey, but it's really useful. And this one is going to be used only with thin lids, frame lids, thin dies, wafer thin dies. You shouldn't use anything thicker than that. And when it comes to having cut out a shape, let's see. Having cut out a shape with a sort of a thinlet or a wafer thin die, and you get this result, you get a sort of an edge there, some sort of an embossing thing. If you are going to enhance the effect of that embossing, you are going to need some rubber mats. They come in a set of 2, and the Big Shot machine really needs those 2 mats to work. But then I can't go on using this. I have to go back to the basic platform because I'm adding thickness to the sandwich, which means that I have to fold away those tabs. And let's see, there are other things to think about as well. But when it comes to thick dies, as the dies from Zizix, this is a horizontal A2 card with, and it also has an insert to this. When you can take away things from your dies, then they are called movers and shapers. So both of these are movers and shapers. This one has got some magnets to it, which means that it will stick to that metal piece there. And then you can die cut your piece, and it will look like this. And when you are folding it together, you end up with something looking like this. But then you are going to have to cut another piece without this in order to get something to go outside this card. So you're getting a pop-up card with an insert like this. But the thing that I wanted to talk to you about is that since this die has both cutting possibilities and scoring possibilities, you shouldn't use a regular cutting pad, because the cutting pad is too hard. It will mostly cut the scored lines as well. So in that case, I would recommend you to go for crease pads. Crease pads are rubbery, and they are flexible, and they are softer, but they will still help you get those die cut pieces as you want. So in that case, when you have a Bigs die like this, I would recommend you to get these long cutting pads because it's easier for you. So in this case, I'll be putting in a piece of paper just over the die itself, and I'm going to make this sandwich like this. The cutting pad, the die itself, the material, in this case it's a piece of paper, and the crease pad. I'm just going to roll it through like this, and I believe this is easier for me to get in. So I'm not sure why those big plates are giving me such a hard time, and actually I'm rather fed up with it because it has been struggling. I have had a struggle even from the get-go. Now I'm going to, one thing to remember, when you are rolling through your dies, and they are still underneath those rolling pins, let's say, call them that, and then you can go back and forth a couple of times. But if you have had the die release from the machine, let's say, then you can't really go back without checking that everything is in place. But in this case, I just wanted to have a try to see what will it be like if I am able to. Oh my goodness, I forgot about myself. I shouldn't have had the insert in, but you can see this is the thing it's going to do. So now you can see that it's going to get really nice a scored line there, and even the help score line here. So the thing is, it's a beautiful thing with this. You're just going to help out a little bit from the back by pulling that one in while you are folding this card, and it also almost does the job automatically by itself. So this is it. It's a really nice die, I must say. So when you are going to make your outer piece for your card, take away this one. It's as easy as that. And I just wanted to highlight the fact that there are several inserts that you can put in this card. You can put in something like this, and then you will have another sort of a pop-up thing. There's also a star to go with this. So it's a nice die to have, I think, if you like to make some specially folded cards, I mean. So let's see if I can get my mojo or my focus back here. You know, all these different kinds of pads. Let's see, should I make something out of this? Let's see. Well, I could try to make it work with this. There is something that is bothering me. Now you can see that there's a piece of paper there. I mean, since this is a Biggs die, it's an on the edge Biggs die with some stars. I believe that I can make it work cutting through the piece of paper if I want to. But if I would have had a piece of needle here, I would have taken it away. So, in order to get these beautiful stars die cut on the top of my piece of paper, I'm going to put this just like so. I can do the trimming afterwards. I'm going to put the cutting pad underneath and on top, and I'm going to line them up so I have a nice passage through the machine. And in this case it might be a little bit tricky because this is a bit smaller, but I think I will manage. Let's see. And I think that just one roll through is going to be enough. So here we are. And I'm just going to flick away the extra pieces like that. So the benefit of just taking the piece of paper or taking the die and placing it rather on top, you could actually end up with a fancy looking piece of paper that has got a really nice border to it. You could of course continue making this as a front for your card or something. Let's see if I would just show it like this. You could have your mat here and you could just trim this to size and make it work, can't you? So it's a nice idea that I've seen. I think it's Anne-Christine Holt that has made lots of these beautiful cards, and I've yet to try them, but I sort of am inspired by them. Or you could just print out something, have it here and just make it look beautiful, and imagine putting a small easel thingy back here, and then it can stand on its own. You can make a really nice looking thing. You could even make these to look as placement cards on your table perhaps. Let's see, I mean, I'm filled with ideas today, it seems like. So let's see if I'm going to place them there. And the thing about cutting pads, they will get worn. I mean, this is how they are supposed to look if you have used your die cutting machine properly long enough. And well, at first they look like this, really beautiful, and then they look like this. And you might wonder, have I done something wrong? Well, you haven't really. This is how they will end up, and eventually they will crack and they will break, and then you just have to use your new cutting pads. So it's a nice idea actually to just get an extra pair of cutting pads while you are at it, because they may break, but it's not your fault, it's just the way things are. They are not everlasting, these. So let's see if I could go back to getting my things in order here. I'm going to use my metal plate, and I'm going to take a sort of an intricate die here just to show you how much work you might have to do before you can get it out. The drawback here, of course, is that I've got some leftover pieces here. I can't have that if I'm expecting a nice die cutting result. So I might actually just change the die itself instead of hassling with that. And instead I'll be going with this die here. I've only got one thing left there to bother with, and that one was released easily as that. So now I'm going to go for this, the sandwich yet again. So I'm going to go for a magnetic plate and a cutting plate, and I'm going to place the die with the back down. And I'm going to find myself a piece of paper here, and I'm just going to place it on top. Well, you see, now I have to think about something. Since I know that this die will require for me to get it back and front and in every direction, I need to make sure that the paper isn't longer than the plates here, because then otherwise I can't get it through the opening there. So I've learned my lesson here now, haven't I? So just placing the paper on top like that, and I'm going to place that one there, sort of lining them up a little, and just making the roll work its magic. And as you can see, I have no problems whatsoever getting these through the machine. And as I told you, as long as these are in the machine, I can go back and forth. I can see now that it has started to cut rather nicely, I must say. I'm just going to take this small one away. And I didn't even think about using the metal plate. I mean, for goodness sake, sorry. I'm just going to go back with it once more, just to see where we end up. And without shifting, I'm just going to put it back in, just to be on the safe side. And you can hear it crackle and pop like that. It's really nice, I must say. Then it's doing its job, I think. So here we are now. This is what it looks like. And I would like to get a sort of an embossed effect now. So I'm just going to take away the magnetic platform, and I'm going to replace it with the leftover piece of my sandwich. And imagine now you having flipped away two of those tabs, since I will be adding on some thickness to this. So I'm just going to place it there, making sure that it's still in the die as much as it can. And then I'm going to take those two rubber mats, embossing mats you might call them as well. And I'm going to take another cutting pad. I'm going to roll it through the machine once, just to see what I will end up with. And now you can see that this one is getting a little warped, so the next time I will just turn it around on the other side, and hopefully I will make it go straighter the next time. So now you can see that I have got an embossed effect there. In this case it's a debossed effect, but when I'm lifting it up, you know what, I could actually do one thing here, just to show you. I'm going to take this one away. I'm hoping for the best here, because I don't want it to get released from the die. So the paper outside is loosening, and it sort of is loosening from this one as well. I just have to do my best then. And I'm going to take some distress ink. Hopefully I will get it where I want it. I'm just going to dab the color in there. So this method could be called stenciling, because you are using the die as a stencil and you are adding some color to this. And in this case I'm just going to pounce it. I'm not going to rub the blending tool too much because I don't want to risk anything. Just going to pounce it like this. Like so. And what I'll end up with is this. Let's see now. You can get loose now, can't you? So that is what I'll get. It's a rather spectacular result, isn't it? So this die is really rocking my world. And just imagine having this one in the background. You could have a figure in the front. You could make this one look into as a mirror or something. A really nice die from Memory Box, I must say. Let's see if I can put it there. So as you can see, it did cut those swirly bits really nicely, but I did roll it through a couple of times just to be on the safe side now, didn't I? So what else could I say? I'm not sure. Perhaps I've lost my thought here. Perhaps I could go for some dry embossing then. Just because I didn't get that in the Swedish video yesterday. So I might actually do a little bit of dry embossing. And in this case I'm going to go back with the basic platform, and I'm going to need 2 cutting pads, cutting plates, and an embossing folder, of course. One thing I could point out actually, or 2 things perhaps, I've got 2 different kinds of dies here. This one is called a tri-boss or tree boss. This one does give a really nice embossing effect, a textured effect, whilst this one from Cuttlebug won't give as a detailed effect. I will show you, and then I'll talk about this one, unless I forget about it altogether. Let's see, I'm going to take a piece of paper here, and I'm just going to put it in there. And I'm going to put it in between those cutting pads. You know, I have to cut it. And I'm going to put it like that, and I have to remember to just twist the cutting plate there. Perhaps not twist, but turn it over. So taking it out, it looks like this. And it's a nice result, I must say. It does look rather fancy. And you could colour this one in, and you could just have lots of fun with it. You could have some metallic ink or shimmer paints or something like that. So let's see if I'm going to take the other piece of paper and make this one instead. The same procedure. I'm not changing the plates or nothing. So, as you can see, it has got a really nice, deep, detailed effect on this one in comparison to this one, which lies much more flatter, now doesn't it? But the thing is, there are things that are called diffusers. I believe it's Tim Holtz with the Sizzix line that has made these. So the thing with these is that you are going to get a partial dry embossed effect. So let's see if I can just cut another piece of paper here. So this one comes in a set of 3 different shapes. It has got a circle, and I think it was a square perhaps, and even a rectangle. And of course the inner parts will be in this kit as well. You're just going to use one of them at one time. And now is the trick. You're going to put your paper inside, and then you are going to skip one of these because it's as thick as the diffuser. So just going to put that one there, and then you're going to place the diffuser where you want it to be, something like that. And then you're going to take one cutting pad and put on top of that. And then you're going to just roll it through the machine like this. And then you will get this result. It's rather nice, isn't it? Then you can have a greeting here in the center or something else. And if you were to use the centerpiece instead, well, then these wouldn't be there. Instead, you would have the embossing on that part. So hopefully I did get what I wanted in this video. If not, ask me, I can make another video, no problem whatsoever. But, you know, as I'm telling you, one more thing I must show you. One of my favorite kinds of dies are word and letter dies. Just look at this. Die cutting words out of funky foam is so much fun. So I must recommend you to do this. This is a Swedish die which says congratulations, grattis. And just have fun with your dies. I'm really challenging you here, aren't I? So I hope you have a splendid time until I make another video, and you might see me there again. Bye bye.